And for more on the Eid-El-Fitr celebrations, I have with me the Director, Arabic Village, Imran Rufa'l. Good to have you join us on the news at 1. So just before we go to today's celebrations, let's talk about the lessons and gains of the Ramadan fast.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I want to congratulate every Muslim out there, Nigeria at large, for witnessing this Eid and for marking the end of the Eid with this prayer we had early this morning. The lessons therein in the month of Ramadan are so numerous, ranging from spiritual lessons to economic lessons to political lessons and at the same time moral lessons. All these brought together make the complete Muslim, make the Muslim become a different entity at the end of the day after Ramadan, which is meant to sustain us for the next 11 months. Lesson number 1 there is that we should always be in constant touch with our God. In the month of Ramadan, the Muslim morning, day, night were in constant touch with their God, either reading the Quran or standing up in prayers or making supplications and making, some remembrance, words of remembrance that has to do with connection with their Lord. So this is very significant. The consequence of that was that it brought about a peaceful moral exhibition. One of the writers, one of the authors of Islam said, Al-adabu manas yasturu killat al-ilm. We hide your low level of knowledge if you have manners. Wal-ilmu la yasturu killat al-adab. But knowledge cannot hide your lack of manners. Ramadan has come to tell us that in the month of Ramadan, you must sustain, educate yourself on mannerisms and etiquette that are befitting for human existence. You are patient with others, you persevere with others, and you do a lot of things to show that the humanity is inside of you by giving to them when you want to break, giving to them when you want to eat the pre-dawn meal. This is the highest level of mannerism that we should exhibit with other human beings. Coming to the social aspect and coming to the economic aspect, Ramadan has saved a whole lot of people the expenses that they could not afford if they were to be left alone outside Ramadan, because the rich were always coming. And to round it off, Islam now says your fast would not be deemed complete without you extending the hand of felicity to those who need to be happy just like you, that is rich. You have to give what you call Zakatul Fitr. That is, Zakatul Fitr means a food that is given out by the rich to the poor to make the poor too happy the way the rich too is happy on that day. After all, it is meant to bring joy into our faces after the conclusion of an assignment from our God for 30 or 29 days. But thank God this year is 30 days and we are able to do that. So these and many more are some of the things. We have talked about the spiritual lessons, we have talked about the moral lessons, we have talked about the political lessons. Political lessons this time around is telling us that Muslim is represented everywhere. If you see the number of people in Malaysia coming out en masse to pray, if you see the number of people in Indonesia coming out en masse to pray, if you see the number of people in Nigeria, 111 million Muslims in Nigeria came out today to show the strength of the Muslim. This is a political strength that tells the people ruling that, see, the Muslims are a force to reckon with when it comes to administration and planning things. The Muslims are sending this message to the government through this prayers that we had.
So you've pretty much covered most of the points I want you to highlight. I understand that Islam is a religion of peace. But then we also need to focus on it. I need to ask you about this. Many believe that during the fasting period, and especially after the fasting period, that their sins have been forgiven. And then afterwards, they can't go back to their lifestyle before the fast. What are some of the values that we should be emulating from the Prophet as Nigerians today?
One of the most important values that we should emulate from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with respect to the month of Ramadan is the value of staying consistent on good things. Ramadan is meant to structure you on a particular path to sustain and to live while your sojourn is still on this earth. However, a lot of people are not consistent. But the Quran says, وَاعْبُدُ رَبَّكَ, continue to worship your Lord, حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينُ, until the last minute of your life. So, life, the values that Ramadan has brought through the teachings of the Prophet should not end in the month of Ramadan. And that's why one of the scholars of you said, بِئْسَ الْقَوْمِ, woe to a group of people, قَوْمٌ لَا يَعْرِفُونَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا فِي رَمَضَانِ, those who only know God in Ramadan. So consistency is very important, just like the First Lady said in our message to the Muslims, that the Muslims should be consistent in the lessons, the values they have gotten from the month of Ramadan, the value of consistency. How do I mean by value of consistency? Consistency means you never sway from what you are doing, the belief, the concept you believe in. You are found doing it. And you see, one area is very important again. Some people tend to be godly in the month of Ramadan, but they become satanic after Ramadan. Just as I was coming today, I left the mosque. I saw a man who had fasted 30 days. Not too far from him, I saw a bottle almost emptied. And I said, bros, you are not the owner of that bottle. He started laughing. He could not defend it. Why is it like that? I tell you, there are some natural laws that were turned around in Ramadan. Those natural laws have been reversed back to their status quo. How do I mean? In Ramadan, the natural law before Ramadan was that the gate of Al-Jannah should be locked. But when Ramadan came, Allah decided to open it. Number two, the gate to hellfire were opened before Ramadan. But when Ramadan came, they were opened. They were locked. And lastly, Satan, that whispers into every human being, no exception, was chained throughout the month of Ramadan. So all these natural laws were reversed. And this is why you find that man with that bottle, after 30 days, almost emptying a whole bottle.
Well, I believe that Muslims and non-Muslims must have been able to learn a lesson or two from the fast, and should be able to emulate some of these values, especially after the fasting. And I hope that this Ramadan season that has passed will bring us a season of peace and prosperity in Nigeria. Well, I've been speaking with the director, Arabic Village, Rufa'l. Rufa'l, thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And still on Eid-El-Fitr celebrations,